Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Bharat, for giving me this opportunity to talk on this current topic. And it's always a privilege to be a part of your discussion panels. So we see that I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are audible. Yes, we are audible. Please go ahead.
Okay. So you see that we are sitting and talking at a time when Taliban has taken control of Afghanistan and the leadership is assuring Afghans that they are safe now. Also, we see that there is a general amnesty given by these Talibans, and they have asked everyone to unite behind a Taliban government that will rule according to the Islamic law. See that this time they say that women can continue their education, and also they will guarantee the human rights and freedom of speech and expression. So what we see here is that the kind of environment that has prevailed in these times, that was bound to happen, that was destined to happen. Because Afghanistan is a country of heterogeneity. It comprises of numerous tribes, languages, sects, and ethnicities. Whereas on the other hand, what we see is that United States and its allies, they were endeavoring to turn it into a unified democracy, principally based on those Western values. So from my point of view, there was a fundamental failure to understand what Afghanis actually wanted. Because, Americans assumed that Afghanis wanted what Americans had, and that is liberal Western style of democracy, and that was not the case. So you see that the situation right now is very fluid and it is in the making. So the scenario is such that, nothing can be said with authority, but however, I have tried to answer 5 questions, though the question that I have written for my discourse, they demand some comprehensive answers, but I would like to be brief as much as I can. These are the questions that is triggering the mind of everyone these days. The very first question that was, also disturbing me was that why did US choose to withdraw from Afghanistan now? There are many reasons, but for me, the first and the foremost reason would be the you can say the collapse of the political will. Also, you see that the goalpost kept changing under 4 US presidents who oversaw the war. From democracy and then to nation building, then they went on saying counter-terrorism, counter-insurgency. Later on, we saw some troop surge and then the peace talk. So it was all very disturbing. It was all very much frustrating. Moreover, we see that, political objectives were not very clear. It was only the United States security interests at their heart that had actually prolonged the war. In addition to these factors, what I feel is that the rising Chinese economic power, then the sapping resources, and more so what we can term as the strategic exhaustion due to imperial overstretch. These were the points that had become worrisome over all this course of time. This was a time for United States, I think, to focus more, to concentrate more on the rise of China, where you see there is a debate going on between Belt and Road Initiative and the Build Back Better World B3W initiative, which has been originally initiated by the G7 countries. So, they were more interested to concentrate more on these issues. In addition to this, what I feel is that COVID had also been a contributing factor where, it had a telling impression on the economy, and there was domestic unemployment, and, there were failures in the Middle East that United States was facing in the past couple of years. There was internal politics. There were some populist policies that were requiring the withdrawal to focus inward. So this is very briefly, I have tried to, just pinpoint the factors that contributed in US withdrawal in this time. let's just proceed to the question number 2 that I have framed for the audiences. And the question number 2 for me would be that what could possibly be done differently by the Biden administration to kind of, avoid this chaotic situation in Afghanistan. In order to answer this, I think we need to understand that United States has maintained its presence and bases all around the world. Just to quote you an example, you see that there are 25,000 troops stationed in South Korea since the end of Korean War. Also, it has thousands of troops in Europe, in Middle East, and in elsewhere. But I don't know why it is so that United States decided to withdraw the last 2,500 non-combatant troops that could have, kind of ensured some semblance of a peaceful transition or maybe evacuation, if nothing more. So that was mishandled. Secondly, what I feel is a reason is that, United States National Security Council has become a huge bureaucratic dinosaur. There is a column in a Washington Post that said that there were 36 meetings organized by National Security Council since April this year, and it was just primarily it was for Afghanistan. It was to discuss Afghanistan. Having said this, I think it is of surprise that no meaningful instructions to concerned agencies or transition of power could be relayed down the line if such was the case. This was the second point that I had to make. And the last point is that the poor intelligence briefings, the kind of briefings that were given to the President Biden on Afghan National Army was one of the most important factor. See that even the United States trained Afghan security forces, they just melted down in front of Taliban as the Talibans, moved into the capital. So it was more of a game of, their sentiments, the Afghan National Army's sentiments, because the manpower itself was adequately trained, but their hearts were, the hearts were with the local sentiments. That is what I can say. So this is, I think I have been able to answer this second question. And this takes me to the third question, which says that why was the rout of Afghan National Army so swift and unexpected? You see that the complete decimation of Afghan National Army, it must be weighed in the backdrop of the reasons behind the Taliban victory. So you see that until 2001, the ranks of Taliban, they were overwhelmingly Pashtuns. But recently in 2021, what we see is that this makeup has radically altered. Now, Taliban have incorporated different ethnicities. They have Tajiks with them, they have Uzbekis with them, and different other ethnicities as well. The only exception is perhaps Hazaras, but understandably what you can say is that they are being lured in as well in recent times. So this can be reason one. Another reason can be that Afghans, I mean the locals, they were desperate for peace and they were fed up of the corruption. And, they were seeing more of war, bloodshed, and spike in corruption over the past 20 years. Local population was, hopeful for more development, for more equality. But what happened was that, this Karzai government, this corrupt government was imposed of them. This kind of disturbed them. So, but having said this, what I want to clear is that this does not mean that development did not take place in Afghanistan. It did take place. It took place in the form of girls' education. There was higher education. Then there was infrastructure development. Were rising in the extent that actually happened. There are 1 million internet users in Afghanistan, as compared to the scenario 20 years back. But what happened was that people were fed up. Why? Because opium trade was facilitated by CIA and it got flourished in areas which were not under the Taliban occupation. More so, what happened was, warlords were the true beneficiaries, whereas the poor were suffering. So this brought these Afghan people to a point where they had started hating this occupying force. And to them, Taliban was the only option. So another much stronger reason could be the judicial system that Taliban had put in place that they held. The dispensation of justice was very swift, it was fair, and it was not favoring influential. So Taliban controlled areas. In nutshell, what we can say that it was largely corruption free. And lastly, what I can say to answer this question is that though the Afghan National Army was trained, but their hearts and minds were never with what they considered as the occupying force, the United States. And furthermore, if I just quote you some statistics, it says that Afghan army had annual attrition rate of 20 to 30%. So you see, there were desertions and there were casualties and they were not very happy about it. Fourth question, that is, and this question has been answered by the panelists as well. It says that why are we likely to witness in Taliban 2.0? See that the new Taliban, as Dr. Hussain Shahi Sarwardi has just coined the term, the new Taliban, it's a different generation. The Pashtun chauvinism is long gone, and their ranks are now filled with soldiers from different ethnic backgrounds. So what you can say is that they have kind of moderated themselves. They have started, welcoming music and videos, and they have toned down their previous, what you can say is the puritanical leanings. So Taliban have repeatedly maintained that they want to rule in peace, and that too without revenge. And above all, they have stressed the importance of right of women this time. Taliban, what I personally feel and conceive is that they would like to integrate for the economic growth. As you see that China has held parleys with Taliban, and Beijing is eyeing their mineral resources and, more importantly, lithium for their batteries, operated cars. So this is like a connection that they would like to look up to. And also we see, as all other panelists have just discussed, that they would like to promote an inclusive government this time. So I hope that the question that what are we likely to witness in Taliban 2.0, that has been answered, as this is what I would do when I have to speak that briefly. Okay. So last question, and this question I would like to answer in 1 or 2 lines, says that what are the stakes of Russia, China, and Pakistan? So it's very much visible that peace, stability, prosperity, reconstruction is what all regional countries do. Why? Because it is in the interest of all these regional stakeholders. CPEC success is linked to stability. China is looking for mineral resources and also wants to invest in different projects. And stability and peace in Afghanistan is a prerequisite if this is bound to happen. More so this time, I think preventing Al-Qaeda and IS to regroup is also essential and is an important stake of all these regional holders who want to avoid any kind of extremism to happen on their soil. So this is what I would like have answered to this question, which says that what are the stakes of these regional countries? So peace and stability. These are the 2 words that would answer this question. Now I would.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Aiysha, for. Aiysha, thank you.
Ms. Farhat, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, I guess. Yes.
I was just about to conclude. Can you give me just 2 more minutes?
Yes, you have 1 more minute.
Okay. I will. Okay, so the issues ahead are that for Taliban, there are multiple issues at hand. And as you know, as the dust settles, U.S. trained fighters, they would like to regroup, and they would like to fight again. So it's crucial for Taliban to bring different stakeholders on board, and this time countries should be taken on board as well, because Taliban has to show to the rest of the world, in general, and to the region in particular, that they have really learned and they have evolved over all these years. Also, they have to work to make their security operators even more they should work to strengthen it. And also they have to keep regional stakeholders on board.
Yes. Thank you, Aiysha.
Consider that in these 20 years, there is a generation of...
Aiysha, your internet is disturbing a lot. I guess that, thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing your insight and valuable comments. And you had truly given us the whole picture of the entire situation.
Okay.
Thank you.